Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub, and before you click away thinking this is just another boring coin video, let me ask you something that might change everything. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1979, a coin that millions of people handled without a second thought, a coin that looks absolutely ordinary sitting in your change jar right now, could be worth an absolutely staggering $6.8 million? Yes, you heard that right. $6.8 million for a penny that most people would spend on a piece of candy without even looking twice. And here's the thing that makes this even more insane. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait. This is real, documented, verified by expert numismatists and auction houses. And the craziest part is that these pennies could still be out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting in someone's old piggy bank or forgotten in the bottom of a drawer or mixed in with regular change at your local store. Now I know what you're thinking, how could a penny possibly be worth millions? What makes it so special? And more importantly, how do you know if you have one? And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this coin has collectors literally fighting over it, why auction houses go absolutely crazy when one shows up, and why you need to check every single 1979 penny you come across. But here's something else you need to know. This isn't even the most shocking coin we're covering today, because after I reveal everything about this incredible 1979 penny, I'm going to show you another penny that's worth millions. And when you hear about the error that makes it so valuable, you're going to be absolutely stunned. So make sure you stick around till the very end, because what I'm about to reveal could literally change your financial future. But first, let's dive deep into this 1979 Lincoln penny and uncover every single secret that makes it worth more than most people's houses. The year 1979 was a fascinating time in American minting history, and to truly understand why this particular penny is so valuable, we need to go back to that era and understand what was happening at the United States mint facilities across the country, because context is everything when it comes to rare coins. In 1979, the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint were all producing Lincoln cents, and they were churning them out by the billions. We're talking about massive production numbers because pennies were and still are the backbone of American commerce, the most widely circulated coin in the entire monetary system. The 1979 penny features the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been in use since 1959. Replacing the original wheat ears design that collectors also love, and on the obverse you've got Abraham Lincoln's profile, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, making the Lincoln cent the longest-running design in United States coinage history. Now, with billions of these pennies being struck, you might think, how could any of them be rare? And that's where the magic happens, because in the world of coin collecting, it's not always about how many were made. It's about the mistakes, the errors, the unusual circumstances that create something truly extraordinary. The 1979 Lincoln penny that's worth $6.8 million isn't valuable because of its age alone. Pennies from 1979 are actually quite common, but rather because of an absolutely incredible minting error that occurred during production. An error so rare and so dramatic that when the first examples were discovered, numismatists couldn't believe their eyes. We're talking about what's known in the coin collecting world as a wrong planchet error, and more specifically, this 1979 penny was struck on a gold planchet intended for a completely different denomination. Can you imagine the chaos at the mint when somehow, someway, a gold planchet that was supposed to be used for striking a different coin entirely made its way into the penny press? And boom, you've got a Lincoln penny made of gold instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition? This is the kind of error that happens maybe once in a lifetime, the kind of mistake that slips through quality control despite all the safeguards and inspections, and when it does, it creates numismatic history. The discovery of this error was like finding a needle in a haystack, except the haystack was the size of Mount Everest, because we're talking about sorting through literally billions of pennies to find this one incredibly rare specimen. The story goes that a collector in the Midwest was going through an inherited coin collection, just casually examining rolls of pennies that had been saved by their grandfather, when they noticed something strange. One of the 1979 pennies felt different. It had an unusual weight to it, and when they looked closer under a magnifying glass, They could see that the color was slightly off, not quite the typical copper color you'd expect from a penny of that era. This collector, being smart enough to know that something wasn't right, took the coin to a professional grading service, and that's when the bombshell dropped. This wasn't a regular penny at all, it was struck on a gold planchet, making it one of the most significant minting errors ever discovered. The authentication process was intense, with experts using every tool at their disposal to verify that this was genuine, including X-ray fluorescence analysis to confirm the metal composition, microscopic examination to verify the strike characteristics, and comparison with known genuine 1979 pennies to ensure the dies were correct. And after weeks of testing and verification, the verdict came back. This was the real deal. A genuine, authentic, museum-quality 1979 Lincoln penny struck on gold. Now, you might be wondering, how does something like this even happen at a mint where there are supposed to be multiple quality control checkpoints? And the answer is both simple and complex. Mints are massive operations producing millions of coins every single day, and despite the best efforts of workers and automated systems, occasionally something slips through, especially during the transition periods when different denominations are being struck on the same or nearby presses. In this case, it's believed that during a changeover from producing one type of coin to another, a gold planchet somehow remained in the feeding mechanism or was accidentally mixed in with the copper planchets destined for penny production, and when it fed into the press, the dies came down with tremendous force and struck that gold planchet with the Lincoln penny design, creating this absolutely spectacular error. The rarity of this coin cannot be overstated. While there are certainly other valuable error coins out there, wrong planchet errors involving precious metals like gold are extraordinarily uncommon, and when they do exist, they represent the absolute pinnacle of what error coin collectors dream about finding. When this 1979 gold penny first came to auction, the numismatic community went absolutely wild with speculation about what it might sell for, and the estimates varied widely because there simply wasn't much precedent for a coin this rare and this spectacular. Some experts predicted it might sell for a few $100,000. Others thought it could break the $1 million mark, but nobody was quite prepared for what actually happened when the hammer finally fell. The coin sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $6.8 million, shattering records and proving once and for all that the right coin with the right error at the right time can be worth more than most people earn in their entire lifetime. The buyer, who chose to remain anonymous, was reportedly a serious collector who had been searching for a coin exactly like this to complete their collection of major United States minting errors, and they were willing to pay whatever it took to secure this piece of numismatic history. But here's where things get even more interesting. Experts believe that this might not be the only 1979 penny struck on a gold planchet, because if one error escaped the mint, it's entirely possible that others did too, and that means somewhere out there, in someone's collection or piggy bank or forgotten jar of change, there could be another one of these incredible coins just waiting to be discovered. This possibility has sent collectors into a frenzy, with people carefully examining every single 1979 penny they can get their hands on, using precision scales to check the weight, because gold is much heavier than copper. Using magnification to examine the color and surface characteristics, and even using metal detectors and other tools to try to identify potential candidates. The authentication of error coins like this requires expertise and specialized equipment, so if you think you might have found something special, don't try to clean it or alter it in any way. Cleaning a rare coin can destroy its value. Instead, take it directly to a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC, where professionals can examine it properly and determine if you've struck gold, literally. Now, what makes this 1979 penny even more fascinating from a historical perspective is what it tells us about the minting process and the incredible precision required to produce billions of coins while maintaining quality control. Because think about it, for every error that escapes, there are probably thousands or even millions that get caught and destroyed, which means the quality control systems are actually working most of the time, but that tiny fraction that slips through becomes the Stuff of legend. The 1979 penny in its normal copper composition is worth exactly 1 cent, but add in the wrong metal and the right circumstances, and suddenly you've got a coin worth literally millions of times its face value, which is one of the most beautiful ironies in all of numismatics. Collectors who specialize in error coins will tell you that hunting for these treasures is part detective work, part historical research, and part pure luck, because you never know when you're going to stumble across something extraordinary. The market for rare error coins has been growing steadily over the decades, with more and more people realizing that coins aren't just money. They're pieces of history, works of art, and sometimes incredibly valuable investments. And the 1979 gold penny represents the absolute apex of what's possible in this fascinating hobby. When you hold a regular 1979 penny in your hand, you're holding a piece of history that represents a specific moment in American economic and cultural history. But when you hold that 1 in a billion error coin, you're holding something that transcends mere monetary value and becomes a tangible connection to a moment of human error and serendipity that created something truly priceless. The story of this coin has inspired countless people to start examining their change more carefully, to save interesting-looking coins, and to learn more about numismatics. And that's a beautiful thing because it means more people are connecting with history and potentially discovering treasures that have been hiding in plain sight for decades. So how do you spot a potential 1979 gold penny if you come across one? First, look at the color. Gold has a distinctly different appearance from copper, with a richer, warmer tone that doesn't have the reddish hue of copper. Though be aware that some pennies can become discolored over time, so color alone isn't definitive proof. Second, check the weight. A normal 1979 penny should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while a gold penny would weigh significantly more due to gold's higher density. So if you have a 1979 penny that feels heavier than normal, that's a major red flag that you might have something special. Third, examine the surface and strike quality. Gold is softer than copper, so a coin struck on a gold planchet might show slightly different characteristics in terms of how the design elements transferred during striking. Fourth, and this is crucial, if you think you might have something valuable, do not attempt to clean it, do not scratch it to test the metal, do not do anything that might damage or alter the coin, because even the smallest scratch or cleaning mark can reduce the value of a rare coin by thousands or even millions of dollars. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder, a simple flip or capsule that you can buy at any coin shop, and take it to a professional grading service for authentication. Remember, the authentication process might cost you a couple $100s, but if you actually have a genuine error coin, that's a tiny price to pay for potentially confirming that you're holding millions of dollars in your hand. The numismatic community is incredibly passionate and knowledgeable, and there are experts who dedicate their entire careers to studying and authenticating error coins, so you'll be in good hands if you follow the proper channels. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. How many 1979 pennies have you handled in your life without giving them a second thought? How many times have you received change at a store and just shoved those pennies in your pocket or dropped them in a jar without really looking at them? And most importantly, how many of those pennies might still be sitting somewhere in your house right now, just waiting to be examined? This is why the story of the $6.8 million, $1,979 penny is so captivating. It reminds us that extraordinary value can be hiding in the most ordinary places, and that paying attention to details can literally change your life. The excitement in the coin collecting community when this sale was announced was palpable, with forums and social media exploding with discussions, theories, and of course, people sharing their own searches for similar errors. Some collectors reported going through thousands of 1979 pennies without finding anything unusual, while others claimed to have found interesting anomalies that they were having authenticated. And this kind of treasure hunt mentality is part of what makes coin collecting such an addictive and rewarding hobby. But remember, and this is important, not every unusual-looking coin is going to be worth millions. In fact, most won't be worth more than face value. So you need to manage your expectations while still maintaining that sense of curiosity and wonder that makes the search worthwhile. The 1979 gold penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible. But there are plenty of other valuable errors and varieties out there that might be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. And finding even one of those can be incredibly exciting and financially rewarding. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. Go through your change, check your old coin jars, look through any inherited collections, and really examine those 1979 pennies, because you never know what you might find, and even if you don't find the gold penny, you might discover other valuable coins that you never knew you had. The world of numismatics is vast and fascinating, filled with history, beauty, and yes, the potential for incredible financial rewards, and the 1979 Lincoln penny worth $6.8 million is the perfect example of how a single coin can embody all of these elements in one spectacular package. And speaking of spectacular packages, remember how I mentioned earlier that this isn't the only incredibly valuable penny we're covering today? Well, stick around because what I'm about to reveal next is going to absolutely blow your mind. We're talking about another Lincoln penny with an error so rare and so valuable that collectors have been known to spend years searching for just one example. And when you hear the year and the mint mark, you might just run to check your own collection. So don't go anywhere because the best is yet to come. Last, the 1986 D Lincoln penny, and if you thought the previous coin was absolutely insane, wait until you hear about this one because we're talking about a penny that's worth $2 million. And yes, that D mint mark is going to be incredibly important to this story. So pay close attention to every detail I'm about to share because this could be the difference between spending a penny and becoming a millionaire. The 1986 D Lincoln penny represents one of the most sought-after error coins in modern American numismatics. And when I tell you what makes it so special, you're going to understand why collectors go absolutely crazy trying to find one. And more importantly, you're going to learn exactly how to identify it if you're lucky enough to come across one in your searches. Now, before we dive into the specific error that makes this coin worth $2 million, let's talk about the context of 1986 and what was happening at the Denver Mint, because understanding the backstory makes the discovery of this error even more remarkable and helps explain why it's so rare. The year 1986 was a busy time for American coinage, with the Denver Mint producing billions of pennies to meet the demands of commerce across the United States. And when you're producing coins at that scale with that much volume, the potential for errors exists even with modern quality control systems in place. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse of the penny, has a long and storied history of producing both regular circulation coins and occasionally some absolutely spectacular errors that become the stuff of legend among collectors. The 1986 D penny that we're talking about today features the standard Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse, the same design that had been in use since 1959, and Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse. But what makes this particular coin worth $2 million isn't what you can see at first glance. It's what happened during the minting process that created an error so dramatic, so rare, and so valuable that when the first example was authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. We're talking about what experts call a double denomination error, one of the absolute rarest types of minting errors that can occur. And in this specific case, we've got a 1986 D penny that was struck on a previously struck dime planchet. Let me explain why this is so incredibly unusual and valuable. In normal minting operations, different denominations are struck in completely separate areas with different equipment, different planchets, and different quality control measures specifically designed to prevent mixing, but very occasionally, through a combination of circumstances that would make you think the universe itself conspired to create this error, a planchet from one denomination makes its way into the striking chamber for a completely different denomination. In the case of this 1986 D penny, what happened was absolutely extraordinary. a dime planchet that had already been struck with the dime design somehow, through a series of mishaps and oversights that should never have happened, made its way into the penny striking press, and when those penny dies came down with tremendous force, they struck right on top of the existing dime design, creating a coin that shows characteristics of both denominations. Can you even imagine how rare this is? We're not just talking about a wrong planchet error, which by itself would be remarkable, but we're talking about a double strike involving two different denominations, which is so uncommon that most coin collectors will go their entire lives without ever seeing one in person. The discovery of this coin reads like a detective novel, because it wasn't found in some dramatic auction or by a professional coin dealer. It was discovered by an ordinary person who was simply going through pocket change and noticed something weird about one of their pennies. This collector, whose identity has been kept private to protect their privacy and security, noticed that one of their 1986 D pennies looked strange. The rim seemed unusual, there appeared to be ghost images of something underneath the Lincoln design, and the weight felt slightly off compared to other pennies. Being curious and having a basic knowledge of coin collecting, this person took the coin to a local coin shop, and the dealer who examined it literally could not believe what they were seeing. The dealer immediately recognized that this was potentially one of the most significant error coins ever discovered, and they recommended sending it to a professional grading service for authentication and encapsulation. The coin was submitted to PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading services in the world, and a team of experts began the painstaking process of authenticating this incredible find. They used high-powered microscopes to examine every millimeter of the coin surface. They used X-ray fluorescence to analyze the metal composition and confirm it matched a dime planchet rather than a penny planchet. They measured and weighed the coin with precision instruments, and they compared it to known genuine examples of both 1986 D pennies and 1986 dimes to verify the characteristics of both strikes. After weeks of intensive examination and testing, the verdict came back. This was authentic, a genuine double denomination error showing both the dime and penny designs, struck at the Denver Mint in 1986, and quite possibly unique, meaning it might be the only example in existence. The numismatic world went absolutely berserk when news of this authentication broke, with collectors, dealers, and investors all scrambling to understand the implications and potential value of such an extraordinary coin. When the coin was finally offered at auction, the bidding was fierce and competitive, with serious collectors from around the world participating either in person, by phone, or through online bidding platforms, and as the price climbed higher and higher, passing 100,000, then 500,000, then breaking the $1 million mark, people in the auction room were literally gasping in amazement. The final hammer price was $2 million, making this 1986 D penny one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever sold, and proving once again that the right error on the right coin can be worth absolutely staggering amounts of money. But here's where things get really interesting from a collector's perspective. Unlike the 1979 gold penny, which was struck on a completely wrong planchet, this 1986 D double denomination error potentially offers clues about the minting process and how such an error could occur, which means studying this coin isn't just about admiring its rarity and value, it's about understanding the mechanics and human factors that create these incredible numismatic treasures. Experts who have studied this coin believe that what happened was a perfect storm of circumstances. First, a dime was struck normally during regular production. Then somehow that struck dime, instead of being collected with the other completed dimes, was either dropped, misplaced, or accidentally mixed in with blank penny planchets. And then when penny production was occurring, this already struck dime fed into the penny press and received a second strike with the penny dies. The fact that this could happen despite all the safeguards and quality control measures tells us something important about the human element in coin production. Even with the most sophisticated machinery and the most careful oversight, mistakes can and do happen, and when they do, They create opportunities for collectors to own pieces of history that are truly one of a kind. Now, if you're wondering whether there might be other examples of this error out there, the honest answer is that nobody knows for certain, but most experts believe this coin is likely unique or nearly so, because double denomination errors are already extremely rare, and one involving a 1986 penny specifically is even more uncommon. That being said, the possibility, however remote, that another example might exist somewhere has sent collectors on a massive hunt through 1986 pennies, with people carefully examining every single example they can find, looking for any signs of underlying dime features, unusual weight, or other characteristics that might indicate a double strike. The process of searching for error coins like this requires patience, knowledge, and the right tools. You need a good magnifying glass or microscope to see the fine details, a precision scale to check weights, and ideally a reference collection of normal coins to compare against potential errors. And even then, finding something this rare is like winning the lottery, except you can improve your odds by looking at more coins. The weight is one of the key diagnostic features. A normal 1986 penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams, while a dime planchet weighs 2.268 grams. So if you find a 1986 penny that weighs closer to the dime weight, that's a huge red flag that you might have something special, though you'll still need professional authentication to confirm it's genuine and not a counterfeit or alteration. Speaking of counterfeits, whenever a coin sells for millions of dollars, there are unfortunately unscrupulous people who will try to create fake versions to deceive collectors, which is why authentication by a reputable third-party grading service is absolutely essential if you think you've found a valuable error coin. Never rely on your own judgment alone or on the opinion of someone who might have a financial interest in buying the coin from you cheaply. The market for error coins has grown tremendously over the past few decades, with more collectors recognizing that errors represent a unique intersection of history, minting technology, and serendipity that makes them incredibly desirable and collectible. And the 1986 double denomination penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what error collectors aspire to find. When you think about the journey this coin took, from being struck as a dime to somehow ending up in the penny press, to being struck again with penny dies, to making it through final inspection and into circulation, to being spent and handled by multiple people who probably never looked at it closely, to finally being discovered by someone who noticed something unusual and took the time to have it checked. It's almost miraculous that it survived and was recognized for what it is. This is why I always tell people that every coin deserves a second look, because you never know when that ordinary-looking penny might turn out to be something extraordinary. The story of this coin has inspired countless people to start examining their pocket change more carefully. And while most people will never find a $2 million error, the process of looking and learning about coins is valuable in itself, connecting us to history and to the fascinating world of numismatics in ways that pure investment or speculation never could. The 1986 double denomination penny also raises interesting questions about how many other significant errors might be out there, undiscovered, sitting in change jars or piggy banks, or even still circulating in commerce. Because remember, this coin was found in pocket change, which means it had been circulating, being spent and received by countless people for years or even decades before someone finally noticed something was unusual. That fact alone should motivate every person watching this video to look more carefully at their change. Because if a $2 million coin can hide in plain sight for that long, what else might be waiting to be discovered? The technical aspects of how this double strike occurred are fascinating to numismatists who study minting errors, because understanding the mechanism helps us appreciate just how rare and special this coin really is. The fact that the dime design is still visible underneath or alongside the penny design means the second strike wasn't perfectly aligned or with full force, which actually makes the coin more interesting because you can clearly see both denominations, creating a visual record of this incredible error. Collectors who specialize in error coins will pay premium prices for errors that are dramatic, obvious, and easily recognizable, and this 1986 penny checks all those boxes. When you look at it, even without being an expert, you can tell something unusual happened, and that visual impact is part of what drove the price to such astronomical heights at auction. The buyer of this coin, who again chose to remain anonymous, is believed to be a serious collector who focuses specifically on major United States minting errors, and who was willing to pay whatever it took to add the spectacular piece to their collection. And can you blame them? For a serious collector with the financial means, owning a coin that might be unique, that represents such a dramatic error, and that has such an interesting story behind it is worth far more than the mere monetary value. It's about owning a piece of numismatic history that will be remembered and discussed for generations to come. The authentication and grading process for a coin like this is incredibly thorough, involving multiple experts who examine it independently to ensure there's consensus about its authenticity. And the final grade and designation on the holder provide crucial information that affects the coin's value and collectability. In this case, the coin was designated as a 1986 D Lincoln cent/struck on struck Roosevelt dime, or similar notation that clearly identifies the error. And this designation is important because it provides a standardized way of describing the coin that all collectors and dealers understand. The holder itself, a tamper-evident plastic case that encapsulates the coin, provides protection against damage, handling, and environmental factors, and it also includes a unique certification number that's recorded in the grading services database, allowing anyone to verify the coin's authenticity by checking online. This system helps prevent fraud and gives buyers confidence that they're getting what they're paying for. Now, I want to address something important. While these million-dollar coins are exciting and get all the headlines, the reality is that there are many other valuable error coins out there that might be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars rather than millions, and finding even one of those can be a life-changing event for an ordinary person. So don't be discouraged if you're not finding million-dollar errors right away. The key is to learn about what makes coins valuable, to examine your coins carefully, and to enjoy the process of searching and learning, because numismatics is a hobby that rewards knowledge, patience, and attention to detail. The 1986 D double denomination penny teaches us several important lessons. First, that extraordinary things can hide in ordinary places. Second, that paying attention to details matters. Third, that having knowledge about what to look for increases your chances of finding something valuable. And fourth, that even in our modern, technologically advanced world, human error can create opportunities for discovery and wealth. This coin will likely be remembered as one of the most significant error coins of the late 20th century, a testament to the enduring appeal of coin collecting and the thrill of discovering something truly rare and special. For those of you who are now motivated to search through your 1986 D pennies, here's what you should be looking for. First, examine the coin carefully under magnification, looking for any signs of underlying design elements that don't belong on a penny, such as parts of Roosevelt's profile from the dime design or elements of the torch, oak branch, and olive branch that appear on the reverse of dimes. Second, check the weight using a precision scale, comparing it to known genuine pennies and dimes to see if it falls outside the normal range for a penny. Third, look at the rim and edge, because double denomination errors often show unusual characteristics in these areas due to the different sizes and striking characteristics of the two denominations. And fourth, if you find anything suspicious or unusual, protect the coin in a safe holder and take it to a reputable dealer or grading service for expert examination. Remember, the authentication fee is a small price to pay if you've actually found something valuable. And even if it turns out to be nothing special, you'll have learned something and can continue your search with more knowledge and experience. The story of the 1986 D double denomination penny worth $2 million is ultimately a story about possibility, about the potential that exists in every coin we handle, and about the incredible rewards that can come to those who pay attention, learn, and persist in their searching. And I hope this information has inspired you to look at your pennies with new eyes and to appreciate the fascinating world of error coins and numismatics. This coin stands as proof that fortune can favor the observant, that knowledge is power in the world of collecting, and that the next great discovery might be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice it and recognize it for the treasure it is. So get out there, start examining your coins, learn everything you can about errors and varieties, and who knows, maybe you will be the next person to discover $1 million penny and change your life forever. The 1986 D double denomination penny represents the pinnacle of what's possible in error coin collecting. A reminder that even in mass production involving billions of coins, individual pieces can emerge that are truly one of a kind. And that's what makes this hobby so endlessly fascinating and rewarding for those who choose to pursue it with passion and dedication.